Tupperware? Now you're cooking.
Tupperware is expanding its reach.
Tupperware.
Tupperware is Tupperware.
Tupperware.
In 1946, when Earl Tupper launched Tupperware, very less people would have thought that it would become synonymous with food storage containers in a few years.
I want to sell Tupperware, but I want to build an organization.
Iconic brand that, you mentioned the 78 years, it started for food conservation.
Just like Google became synonymous with web search and Xerox with photocopy. The food containers brand Tupperware was a massive name in the US at that time, and even in 2010s, people were hosting Tupperware parties to exchange Tupperware between friends and neighbors and have a fun time. The lifetime guarantee meant that the items were meant to last, and buying these would make a smart decision. Everyone had at least one of these containers of colorful lids at home. Sales were booming,
And our product line has moved up.
and many other brands tried to make something like it and failed terribly. It was talked about everywhere, from barbecue parties in the American suburbs to BuzzFeed and viral internet video hacks, as well as movies and TV shows.
Hey! Same Tupperware.
And it became a global name all around the world. But this fame wasn't going to continue selling products for Earl's brand in the late 2010s. The COVID-19 pandemic was only the beginning of its downfall, despite demand increasing of these airtight, colorful lid containers. In 2023, the financial conditions of the company started to weaken, and now it's talked about everywhere once again, but this time for bankruptcy.
Tupperware has been around for nearly 80 years, but sales have been dropping.
Tupperware and some of its subsidiaries have filed for bankruptcy.
But now Tupperware has filed for bankruptcy.
So the question comes up, what went wrong? I will talk about Tupperware from the lens of a pop culture brand analysis as a product and brand marketer. We'll try to see how the brand did. First, product formulation. Second, how it created the brand image of being a household name. Third, how it deployed a successful direct marketing and distribution strategy. And fourth, and ultimately, identify how it struggled to be a digital-first company despite its bullish PR efforts, and that leading to its bankruptcy today. We'll talk about the brand's history for a minute to understand how the product came out to be. Tupperware is an Orlando, Florida-based company. Earl was raised in central Massachusetts, which was the birthplace of the plastics industry after World War II. After a few failed innovations, he produced the Wonder Bowl in 1946 with the help of a few molding machines that he bought. And these Wonder Bowls did not take off until Brownie Wise, this lady in the picture, suggested to him that you should sell it at home parties with some fun games. Wise was better at sales strategies than Earl, and this point would become of significance as we talk about the brand's image and market capture soon. So the lid would make a burp-like sound when opening the airtight seal, and soon it became a popular item amongst Tupperware ladies. So in 1949, 3 years later, he got a patent for this lid and this sound, basically, and opened a showroom in New York City. Earl and Wise realized that products were selling better at home parties and not at these showrooms. So they removed the products from the shelves to continue scaling these parties and moved to Florida, where they opened the headquarters. But Tupperware will come back to the shelves in 2000s and the 2010s again before its bankruptcy, which is something we'll talk about again in detail in this video. Let's talk about how the iconic Tupperware gained its popularity. There's a bit of a history lesson here, because you see, after the World War II, several brands came about that would target women as buyers, as women were starting to enter the workforce now. At these Tupperware parties, women would sell the containers and earn well on their own schedules. Some more women got inspired at these parties and started to see an earning potential by joining the Tupperware ladies. Soon these Tupperware ladies became a network of thousands of salespersons for the brand, and this was a job bigger than anything for the American women back then, who couldn't even apply for a credit card in their own names in the 70s. Soon at these parties, an air of modern homemaker got created for the buyer, and in this case, an American household woman, to be synonymous with the perfect lady. who would have the freshest ideas and freshest food despite storing it in containers. So Tupperware would continue to launch new items in their collection after the Wonder Bowl, like tiffins, which they called pack and carry, and snack storage containers like Flavor Savers in 1975. This increased brand recognition for Tupperware. Brand recognition is when consumers know about the brand, or simply put, they recognize the name of the products in association with the brand. As a side note, this sales method inspired so many brands to sell their products even today, specifically in the cosmetics and adult pleasure intimate gadgets niche. Wise also became an instant icon as the first woman to appear on the cover of Business Week magazine in the mid-1950s, but was dismissed from the company in 1958 as she was getting the majority of the fame, which was more than all. So that's sad for Miss Wise, because Tupperware continues to see good sales in the following years, from which she did not even earn a single penny. Tupperware worked on a direct sales model. Every brand needs a winning sales channel. It could be a product placement inside a retail store, a MLM distributor network, a website, or sometimes something as simple as trade-off party to exchange and sell new airtight lit tumblers and vacuum boxes like Tupperware. There are several sales channels other than these, like the farmers market, subscription boxes, trade shows. We can say that Tupperware used a specialized sales channel when it leveraged home parties to sell its items. The way these Tupperware parties would work is that someone who wanted to purchase these items would have to phone in to contact a Tupperware lady to get invited to a Tupperware party, or if the buyer wanted to host her own party. And it's interesting how 50 years back Tupperware really said that grocery prices are increasing, and in that economy, if you want to save money, you could consider vacuum food storage boxes, okay? They were thinking ahead of time, really. So to further scale operations and create hype, Tupperware would create festive ads like for Thanksgiving, where we all know there's going to be leftover meals, and what's better than airtight sealed container for the lady of the house at that time to store it. So success was coming in, and Tupperware started doing brand jubilees and promotional events, which you can think of as dealership meetings to celebrate the Tupperware ladies. They also made more topical ads and posters similarly for birthday promos or gifting guides, picnic guides, to paint the picture of Tupperware items being handy for almost all parts of the owner's life. Now this is so interesting because when a brand seeps into all areas of one's life, it's truly become a part of one's identity. Robert Cialdini's book also mentions in The Psychology of Persuasion that when there's social proof with publicly announcing allegiance to a brand like the Tupperware ladies did, it illustrates how a brand can influence behavior to a point where they become part of someone's identity. And until 10 years ago, Tupperware parties continued to be held in many townships and cities across America, with one Tupperware party taking place every 1.4 seconds. But a good product can get copied really quickly and competition eventually arises. So this also happened in the case of Tupperware, where after 60 years of its launch, many other brands emerged, out of which there were several generic brands as well. So generic brands means these are nameless brands, essentially, who made the same items to be white labeled or sold as it is. Soon Tupperware would have to try and win over their own consumers again, because the digital distribution strategy was sweetly adopted by its competitors like Rubbermaid, Pyrex and other generic brands now. So Tupperware did work on both earned and owned media. In earned PR, they became widely popular with features in movies, shows, and casual conversations. And in owned PR, they tried to create and scale digital efforts, this including video tutorials on YouTube or interview mentions and product placements in shows like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So despite such media coverage, that Tupperware was still not going all in with e-commerce store setup efforts, which also added up costing it a big time. But that is is not all. Consumers grew consciousness towards environmental sustainability and reusability existed for Tupperware, but plastic products began to be demonized now. Also, D2C and food delivery commerce solutions grew for millennials residing in Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities where they could basically order DoorDash and Post-its. For online food deliveries, restaurants could buy affordable box packaging and consumers could dispose these off without having the need to wash or reuse these containers. This was also due to the new age buyers who were a part of early digital consumerism group. So the Tupperware ladies did not have much charm and influence with these young buyers who would prefer to shop online. So again, the brand had to reinvent its PR and messaging to communicate that they're versatile as they're producing reusable products. But again, despite buying and earning PR, it wasn't able to establish a digital presence and sales eventually started to plummet. Eventually, the company had to investigate its falling market capture in comparison to Rubbermaid, Pyrex, and other brands, which would emerge as popular alternatives to store leftovers. And in 2023, Tupperware bought on Alvarez and Marshall, along with investment banks and law firms, to investigate the situation. Lorianne Goldman was also appointed as the CEO to stabilize the situation for the brand, and she had years of business experience with names like Spanx and Avon, Coca-Cola. And still 1 year down the line, we see the decline of Tupperware and we see it filing for bankruptcy. All of these reasons ended up being the cause of the downfall of Tupperware sales, while the brand legacy continues to occupy space in history books and marketing case studies now, just like this one. A takeaway could be that consumerism for plastic containers hasn't ended since it began decades ago. The fascinations jumped ship from Tupperware to Yetis, Stanleys, and Hydro Flasks. I have a video on Stanley's capture on modern day consumerism, so be sure to check that out. Link is in the description, and when you click on the I button, subscribe to Brands Notes for more marketing essays on pop culture brands. See you in the next one.